Welcome back to Star-Spangled News. I'm your host, Roman Chavez. Let's talk about the last couple of news that happened this week and last week regarding the two presidential nominees of this upcoming election. Now, we're going to focus mainly on the event last Saturday, the assassination on our former president, Donald J. Trump. And towards the end, we're going to briefly talk about the current president dropping out of the electoral race. So let's get into that. Now, as all of you know, last Saturday, we saw the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. This is something that was quite shocking, and I wanted to come up here and make a video as soon as possible. But when I was researching, I found a lot of misinformation, a lot of information that we didn't know, and so I wanted to wait at least a week before posting. That way I can get as much information as I possibly can about the incident. Now, there is still, even to this minute, new information that is being released, and if it doesn't end up in this video, I will link it down below if it's big breaking news. So I just want to let everyone know, if there's something that you're watching this and you know that might not show up in this video, I will try to post it in the comments below. Now, getting into the facts about this case. So on July 13th, we saw former President Donald J. Trump held a rally in Pennsylvania. For context, this rally was outdoors in an open area near, in a farm. And so there was a lot of open space, a lot of buildings nearby, and a lot of areas of weakness identified by the Secret Service. The person who committed the act was a young male, 20 years old. His name was Thomas Matthew Crooks. Now, for backstory on Thomas Matthew Crooks, he was identified as a very smart man. He was identified by his classmates as a loner, but as his teachers as very nice and very intelligent. Another interesting note is said that by his classmates in high school he was bullied. He was growing up in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. That is 53 miles from where the shooting occurred in Butler, Pennsylvania. It is known that the town that he grew up in only had 33,000 residences. So it was a small town. Now, Crooks was obviously, like I said earlier, was identified as smart. He was stated to win a $500 National Math and Science Institute Star Award for his school. He was described as very smart, and he was also described as very quiet, and he was quite bullied because of that. But his teachers always said that he was smart, he was kind, and he always spoke up in class. After he graduated from high school, he attended 2 years of community college, where he got an associate degree in engineering science. He worked at the Bethel Park Nursing and Rehabilitation Center as a dietary aide. He was also stated to be interested in guns, stating that he joined a shooting range club in high school, but at the time of this club, he was so bad that he couldn't even hit the targets he was assigned to. In a interview with one of the members of the club, he was stated that he was positioned in the far right lane, but was able to hit something in the far left lane, which he was not supposed to be aiming for, and wasn't aiming for, which is a testament to how bad his aim was, so he didn't get into the club itself. Continuing with his love of guns, it is stated that he was a part of a YouTube channel, appearing by the outfit he wore to the event of the shooting. He was spotted wearing a Demolition Ranch shirt, and the owner for that YouTube channel came out and said that he had no involvement with the shooting and that he does not vet the people he buys his shirts from. The investigation itself, the FBI has identified him and looked at their record and found that he has had no criminal history or no reason for him to be in their records that they can note of. He is also stated to have very little social media. After breaking into his phone, they could find no social media or any record of why he would commit a crime, and haven't identified any motive for that such. But it is stated that he might have had a hatred for all politicians, no matter what Democratic or Republican party they are part of. He is registered under the state of Pennsylvania as a registered Republican, but it is noted that he did donate in 2022 to a Democratic party. So it's unclear whether he was fully in line with the Republican Party as of 2022, or if he changed sides but didn't register for that. According to the FBI, they were able to identify one form of social media, Discord, but nothing seemed to come of this for any motive or anyone he could have possibly be working for. And at the time of this recording, he has been isolated as a sole shooter or sole conspirator in the crime itself, which is labeled as an assassination attempt. Now, talking about the event itself. The event was, as I said earlier, held at a farm, so very open, and there was a lot of buildings. And so if you've never been to an area secured by the Secret Service, I'm going to do a quick breakdown of how that works. So the Secret Service really divides the area into 3 to 4 sections. The first section is the area where the Secret Service stays near the stage, and if anything does happen, it is the Secret Service job to rush the president or anyone that they're protecting who's on the stage to get him out of there as quick as possible. That is also the area where the audience sits. And so the Secret Service vets the area in front of the president, the people behind the president, and the people in the audience to make sure that they are not having anything that could potentially harm or damage the president in any way. That is the first area. The second area is more of a local law enforcement area. So it is an area outside of the main stage, but in between the main points of contract between the entrances for the event. So this is the area really patrolled by police. They are more of a security force in that sense. So they go around, they make sure nothing is suspicious happening, and if it is, they report it to the Secret Service, and then the Secret Service responds based off that. And the third area is a more briefing before you enter the area. So they're more of a security task force designed to keep people out of the event that might bring something onto the property that could cause harm to the people in the event or the president. So those are the 3 to 4 areas. Outside the event, they also patrol excess areas outside of the event. So say, for example, if there's a river near the event, the Secret Service would then patrol the whole river because they might think that someone could potentially go in a boat with a gun. Not physically enter the event itself, but be outside of the event, but still have a great line of sight on the person. So that's a little example of how this Secret Service are supposed to react. Now talking about the event. So according to a bunch of testimony we have, it is first noted that authorities spotted the shooter on the roof 26 minutes before the incident. Now, it is unclear whether or not he had the gun at this point, but they did note someone on a roof. So this is one of those moments where if they investigate it and if they find nothing, then the event is still good to go. But if they do take note of it, they have to act on it. So I'm assuming after this incident, they couldn't find anything suspicious. Sure, he's on a roof, but at this point probably had nothing physically on him to cause harm. So maybe they made him go off the roof. We don't know. We have no, at this time, any evidence of what happened after this event. But continuing on, 3 hours before the event, the perpetrator was spotted through a security check-in taking a rangefinder. Now, if you don't know what that is a hunting tool. Hunters use this to identify how far of a shot, say, a deer would be, and then use that to calculate where they would have to aim to hit that shot. It is a very simple tool. You look through a little eye piece on top, and it shows you the distance between you and where you're wanting to aim that thing at. I'm surprised they let him go through with that, or even let him go back to the event at all after this. That is not a normal item. Sure, you could say, oh, maybe he forgot he had that on him, but you don't let him go through. There is a certain point where you have to take note of that, and if you do notice, it adds even more suspicion why they didn't apprehend him later when he was on the roof 26 minutes before the event. It was revealed hours before the event that he had a drone and he was surveilling the property with that drone. We don't currently know how the FBI has any evidence of this, but it is noted that drones release a electronic frequency when using recording devices, so it is implied that that's how they have the knowledge of this drone. But it adds more reason why does the Secret Service have all this evidence and still not do anything? Because we are going back from 26 minutes to 3 hours to hours, and they haven't acted in any way at all. Now, going back to the event itself, it is noted that he was seen with a giant ladder, which is something that's very heavy, something that you would have to take multiple trips to go take the ladder to the roof, set it up, and then go back to your car or vehicle to get your rifle, which he was using. He was using an AR-style 5.56 rifle, which his father did purchase for him illegally. And it is unknown how crooks got access to it. So the father purchased it, he kept it, and it's still no word from the father on whether or not he broke in to get the rifle or if he gave him the rifle at the time of the event. It is unknown currently. It is known that the family itself are being very helpful with the investigation. They are being very supportive with it, and I'm sure we'll find out sooner or later how that transpired. We are now learning that the building that he was perched on was the building that was being secured. There was people with rifles at that building, but they were inside the building. The building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered that we wouldn't want to put up somebody on a sloped roof. And so the decision was made to secure the building from inside. So at the time of the shooting, there was people inside the building with snipers. Concerning, especially since the shooter was literally on top of the Secret Service. Many people actually have called for the director to step down, but she has stated multiple times that she has no intention to do so, even though people in Congress and the press and the citizens of the United States have suggested and demanded for her to step down. It is unclear if she will be fired or step down at this point. And finishing off, the building itself was labeled as outside of the Secret Service responsibility, according to the director, and labeled onto the police. In response to this, the police stated that they were only there for traffic duty, and there was only 7 officers on site, and stated that the Secret Service, even though it may have been in their area, it's still the Secret Service job to protect the president. And there's questions why, even with all this evidence, why they let the president go on stage in the first place. President Trump was shot in the ear. I'm going to show up a diagram right now of showing how close he was to actually being killed. As you can see in this diagram, him moving at the exact moment caused him to not be shot in the head. If he didn't move, we wouldn't be talking about a attempted assassination attempt. We'd be talking about an actual assassination attempt. Now, even though we didn't lose the President of the United States, we still did have 1 death due to this tragedy. The attack led to the death of Corey Comparator, who was stated to be protecting his family during the shots. And so to his family, I offer my condolences. I know you must be going through a hard time, and I want to remind the public that even though we didn't lose the president, we still did lose a human life. We are still dealing with the repercussions of what this man did, and how just because he missed one man doesn't mean he missed another. Now, at this moment, the investigation is still being held by the FBI, and more information is being released, continuing with this. But I'm going to move on to the second big news of this week, the news to deal with President Joe Biden. President Joe Biden has recently announced that he will be not continuing in the electoral race for president. Now, after massive demands for him to finally step down from the race, he finally did. It is stated that a couple days prior he received COVID, and we do not currently know why he fully decided to step down, but it is estimated that this is a big reason for it. He has also endorsed his Vice President Kamala Harris to run, and has already gave his full endorsement for her. So it is interesting to see if she will be the nominee for the Democratic Party, or if another major player will be announced at the Democratic nomination later in August. But currently we are seeing her get ready to run for president, and is excited to potentially debate with Donald J. Trump in November to see if she is nominated. But that is the current news from the last week with our current presidential election. Once again, I have to say that this election is going to be determining what the next part of our country is going to be. It is going to determine where our country goes from here. And so I want to remind everyone that just because you may not like a current presidential nominee, just because you may not like someone who is running, it is never okay to try to assassinate anyone. Violence is never the solution. Your voice is. And so whether you feel like our country is going uphill or downhill with this next election, please use your voice, not your weapon. Thank you. This is Roman Chavez. Tune in next week for Star-Spangled News.